Okay, well, welcome along, everyone. Thank you for sparing us part of your lunch hour, if that's what you're doing, and joining us this afternoon at the Blue Light Comms Hub. Some of you might have joined us on the webinar series that we ran probably a month or so ago. So if you did join any of those previous webinars, then welcome back along. If you are joining us for the first time, then I will just give you a bit of a backdrop to the Blue Light Comms Hub. So my name is James and I run a communications consultancy called Turn the Page. I'm from a Blue Light comms background myself, spending a lot of time in fire service comms and doing LRF comms for several years, and I've since then gone on to work on lots of campaigns for blue light agencies while working at my previous creative agency and then subsequently as Turn the Page as well. And particularly working on a lot of recruitment campaigns for blue light agencies in that time. And the Blue Light Comms Hub is a collaboration with Can Digital, who are public sector advertising specialists. And the hub has been specially set up for you, the blue light comms professionals out there, and all the comms partners that you work with in local authorities, in health and beyond as well. So anyone who's got a connection to blue light as well. And it is a completely free online community for you and your colleagues to be able to share, learn, and hopefully achieve the best outcomes for your campaigns and challenges as well. And as I mentioned, we ran a series of webinars on topics such as flooding preparedness and recruitment earlier in the year. And there's going to be more of those free learning opportunities to come after today as well. So if you're not yet registered for updates about future events, then go to that web address on the screen, get yourself registered, and then you'll receive all the links and all the information, all the news about future events for the Blue Light Hub as well. So on to today's topic, and it's really great actually to see so many people joining us today, and I hope that we can do a bit of demystifying for you today, because one of the things that we've been hearing as we've been talking to teams and talking to you since the launch of the Blue Light Comms Hub is that you're really enjoying the content, you really appreciate the community that's being created, but to be honest, you don't really understand how we can help you. And that's some pretty important feedback, really. So that is what we're here to start trying to do today, to offer you an introduction to programmatic advertising and what it can help you achieve. Because believe me, this was me a few years ago. I was 100% you. I found it all a very baffling, opaque world. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange world to me as well. In my in my in-house blue light roles, then I'd run a few Facebook ads, a few Facebook campaigns, and they'd had some some successes, and I basically thought I'd completed digital advertising, and I definitely had not. And no doubt many of you have done a lot of similar things. You've run Meta ads, Google ads, you might have experimented with other platforms as well, but you might have been maybe underwhelmed by the results, or maybe just not shifted the dial on the challenge that you were trying to tackle. And it was only when I got to first work alongside Can that I really saw the power and the potential of programmatic advertising. And this was the first campaign that I worked with them on. This was for BCP Council down in Dorset. And this was aimed at getting people back out and about, supporting local businesses after the COVID lockdowns. And working on this campaign really made me realise sort of three key things about programmatic advertising and what you can get from working with specialists like Can. So number one was the understanding of the audiences and where to reach them. So a real knowledge of the websites people are visiting, the social channels they're on, search advertising, apps that people are on, really meeting audiences where they are. Number two was the scale of the reach as well, the level of impressions that can be delivered. We know that for someone to take action, they need to see a message 7 times before they act. So it's that ability to be always on, always nudging people and always reminding people. And number 3 was the performance and evaluation part. So live dashboards, data at your fingertips to show how campaigns are performing, and the ability to sort of be able to adapt and optimize as you go along and go through a campaign as well. And, I've seen programmatic campaigns where, targets have been smashed that have won awards, recruiting police officers, firefighters, social workers, adult skills learners as well. So it really does, or really can, have a huge power. And we'll share some of those examples with you a bit later. But I want to introduce our first speaker today. So I'd like to welcome Julie Berry, who is the Youth Engagement Officer with Derbyshire Constabulary. And Julie has recently run a knife crime campaign in Derbyshire, which has produced some great results, and she'd like to share that with you today. So Julie, I'll pass over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen. If you could let me know if you can see that would be fabulous.
That's great, Julie.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm, like I say, Youth Engagement Officer at Derbyshire Police, and my role is to create campaigns that are school-based, so they're usually around school lessons, and they are for a full lesson input, so it is usually between 50 minutes to 1 hour, and we deliver it to class sizes of 30 up to around 90 in the one session. This one is called Shattered, and I'll just take you through a little bit about what that involves. So Shattered is a board game, so we've taken a very different approach to this school input. You can see a visual of the board there, and we have what we've got here is the crib sheet. So there is a video that we play at the start of the session that is a scenario that the young people will then go on to play in this board game. So essentially there's a group of kids, Danny, Saeed, and Jess, and they're all at Danny's house playing on the Xbox when it starts. They're a little bit bored, they want to go out, so they decide they're going to head to the park. As they do, Danny, in the hallway of his house, asks Saeed to take this from him, which is a knife, and he asks him to take the knife and pop it in his pocket, which he does. They get to the park, and Jake and Jake's friends are there, and they are just kicking a football about, and then Jake kicks the football, it goes past Danny, and then Danny boots it to the other end of the park, and that's when the confrontation starts. And then Saeed is there, takes the knife out, passes it to Danny, and says, "Don't let him disrespect you like that." And that is where it escalates a bit more, and then the video ends. So you don't actually see the stabbing because we don't want to use scare tactics, and we align to the curriculums. But what we do in the game then is we say, right, you each get a role to play, so they'll each get one of those cards, apart from Lisa. She's just a discussion point, which we come to talk about later on. But they each get one of those characters to play for the rest of the game, and the first bit that they do is roll a dice to see how severely injured Jake is. So if they get a 1 to 2, it's a minor injury. If they get a 3 and a 4, it can be severe, so it could go either way, and then a 5 or a 6 is a catastrophic bleed. So from that, we would start discussing who's doing what their role is. If you're Danny, are you staying on the scene? You've just stabbed someone. Are you going to run away? How are Jake's friends feeling? What might be going through their minds? There's a police officer card, a paramedic card, member of the public, and then, like I say, Jess, Saeed, Danny, Jake, and Jake's friends. So they have discussions in their groups of 6 or 7, and they can see what each other thinks about what their particular character should do, but ultimately whoever has the character card makes that final decision. So even if they disagree with the rest of the group completely, it doesn't matter, they can go forward, and we have had some quite interesting outcomes for those. So it really is more of a discussion based session, and allowing those young people to have that space to maybe explore some of their thoughts in a safe space where they might see what the outcomes are likely to be, and actually it might then stop them going on to take certain actions if they know what the consequences are and what the follow-up issues could be. So here is a list of the aims. So we want them to understand the dangers of carrying a knife. They want them to understand how they can anonymously report knife crime, and we promote the Fearless website to do that. where they can go to for support in relation to knife crime, making sure that they understand the law around joint enterprise, because we know that most young people don't understand the impact of that and how they can be equally as culpable. So part of this game is to make sure that they really understand that and think about the people that they're hanging around with. And then what the What Three Words app is, because a lot of them don't know how to hone down a location. So if we need emergency services to get there really quickly, if there's a severe bleed or it might be catastrophic, obviously time is of the essence. So that's essentially the aim of the game, and a little bit about how it's played. There are some bits in the game where we leave it to chance. So there is a dice. Again, that's where we talked about the severity of the injury that Jake suffers. But we also have other bits in the game where they'll roll a dice, for example, when the paramedics are on the way and if they are delayed for any reason. So if they say roll an odd number, we would then say times that number by 5, and they might be, say, 15 minutes late. And whatever that number is, it means that's delayed, and then we can see what kind of impact that would have. So it's given a broad range of all the emergency services that might be involved as well, and it also talks about the impact on them from the point of view of the police officer and the paramedic that are dealing with those young people, as well as getting the thoughts and feelings of the friends. So as we went through a pilot phase, we did some targeted inputs over 11 sessions with 291 students. We had group feedback to improve the story, scenario and the board, and the young people were involved in developing all the branding and coming up with the tagline of Knives Shatter Lives, and obviously the name of the game as well. There's a booklet at the end that we give out that covers all of the key points around knife crime. So, the sentence for carrying a knife, the consequences. It's got a QR code to the What Three Words app. It gives them links to further information about knife crime. It talks about joint enterprise, and it also gives them the support services that they can go to in the back of the booklet as well. So that's always handed out at the end of the session. And we also have a business card that has a QR code on it that links them to our Force website, which goes directly to our youth knife crime page. Again, so it's got all of that key information there for them. So after we did that, we had some positive results come through from our first pilot. So you can see here, I won't read every single one of them, but you can see that actually they, they did have an increase in understanding the dangers of carrying a knife. They knew where to get support. That had an increase as well. The results going forward are an easier metric to work out. By the way, I know that the plus 1.22 isn't particularly easy, but we've changed the format after the first pilot. So once we'd done that pilot and we saw the positive results come through, we did decide to do a force-wide rollout of the game. And again, you can see here on screen that we had some really big increases actually in how much people knew and where to go. So, they know how to anonymously report knife crime, increased by 44.1%. We've increased the number of people who knew about What Three Words. We also discussed how that can be used in other situations as well. For example, with fire service, ambulance, if they're lost in the Peak District. So it's not always just about knife crime, but we do make sure that they know what the app can be used for. And the really big one for me here was that we had a 65, nearly 66% increase in the number of young people who understood the law around joint enterprise after they played that game. So again, like I said, I won't read them all out, but you can see that we had some positive results from the pre and post surveys that we did with them. We've also played the game in university. So the game is for Year 7 students in secondary school and up. We then trialled it in a university because they asked us if we'd come and deliver to their criminology students, which we did. And again, we actually had a number of increases even with the criminology students, and the criminology students are in their 3rd year of their degree. So we were actually quite surprised to see how much some things went up by. For example, a lot of them did not know about the Fearless website. So things like that was really interesting to us. So it can be for any age range from Year 7 upwards. A little bit of feedback. We did discuss that one about the PowerPoint a little bit more, and that was because each person gets a role, so they can't just sit back and not do anything. So that was why they preferred the PowerPoint, because they said they could play on an app on their watch. So this one gets everybody involved. There are certain cards you can give to young people if you know they're shy, so they have a lesser role, but they are still involved. Professional feedback's also been really positive from people who are in the council to teachers and supervisors. So we've had a really good response from those as well. It works well in PRUs, so the pupil referral units where they don't tend to engage. We've had a lot of good engagement from them. I did go into one where they said we wouldn't be able to keep their attention for more than 10 minutes, and we had an hour and a half and they were late for lunch because they were so engaged in the discussions. A positive case studies come out of it as well. Here's an example, a targeted group. They were known to carry knives. We had some really good discussions, and then in the break, one of the students came to us and actually disclosed that they were being targeted to be involved in a county line. So we were then able to put in safeguarding measures and ensure that that young person didn't actually end up joining the county line. We'll make sure they were safe and make sure that their family was safe as well. And he said that it was only because we played that game and we had those discussions that he realised that that support was out there. This is really quickly because I'm nearly out of time now. So sharing is caring is what I think. We've got this resource. We're happy to share it with other forces if you think it's useful to you and you would like to use it. Obviously, there will be an hour and a half training session that I need to deliver with you so you can see how it's played. In that session, we play the full game so you can really see how it works and how you can use it with your young people. I haven't been able to talk about the primary school workbook, but there is a primary school workbook under the Shattered branding as well that again has seen really positive results with that age group, and it's for years 5 and 6 in primary schools, and that's a scenario around a brother where the kid in the primary school is being bullied and the brother passes him a knife through the fence to kind of use it to threaten the bullies to stop him getting bullied. So that's the scenario for that one. We are happy to share any of the graphics files if you decide your force wants to use it. We can send you all of the stuff. So we obviously can't afford to send you any of the boards, but we can send you the visuals for the boards. You can print them off on your large printers, and we can send you everything else that you need in order to play the game. There is a facilitator's guide that goes along with it that talks everyone step by step through exactly how to play the game, when they need to roll the dice, and what questions they need to ask. And it also gives a summary, including the likely offences that are more often than not come up as they play the game. So if anyone would like more information on Shattered the board game or Shattered the primary school workbook, please do email me. My email's on the screen. I'll also pop it in the chat. Happy to have a discussion and happy to share the resources and deliver that training to you. And hopefully I was in my 10 minutes there. Thank you.
You were absolutely spot on, Juliet. Well, and thank you for keeping an eye on the time as well, which was probably more than I was doing. No, that was great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I know that feels obviously that feels like an example of an offline campaign, and obviously we're here today to talk about online stuff, but it also shows that there is more than one way to do a campaign. And the reason we wanted to share that campaign in particular with you today was because of that offer that Julie's made. One of our superpowers in the public sector is the ability to be able to share best practice, share good knowledge, and share great campaigns like that, which is what the Blue Light Comms Hub is all about. So we wanted to be able to let Julie share that offer with you, to take back to whether it's to your force or whether to your partners that you work with, to have that opportunity. Julie, are you able to stick around, or have you got to go?
No, I can stick around.
If you're able to take questions at the end, Julie, then if anyone's got any questions or wants to follow up on that presentation, then please do put your questions in the chat, and we'll save those for later then. Because what I'd like to do now is kind of move on to the programmatic advertising side of things. And I talked at the start about the real audience and channel targeting and performance measurement that Programmatic can offer. And that's where experts like our next speaker come in. So Allan Watson is Cannes Customer Success Manager, and he is going to be able to explain to you far better than I ever could how it all works and show you how it can be so effective. So over to you, Allan.
Thank you all for joining today. So I'm going to give you an overview of programmatic advertising. So very much focused on entry level. So it'll give you a feel for basically what it is, how it works, the different channel options, the benefits of using it in campaigns, etc. And I'll be around at the end if you have any questions. So feel free to pop them into chat. So go on to the first slide. So what is programmatic advertising? So programmatic advertising is a form of digital advertising that uses automated technology. So it's a type of AI called machine learning. And the role that the automation has is in terms of when the ad is shown, who sees the ad and where the ad is shown. And at the start of a programmatic campaign, you'll put in an objective. That will be set up at the start of the campaign when it's all added into the ad manager, and then the AI will basically optimize the ads to help deliver that objective. And that's all automated and happening throughout the campaign period. So in terms of the platforms, so I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with these already, but one of the big ones is social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, X to a certain degree as well. So that's one of the big ones. But the biggest one and the one that I use most regularly is search, Google search. Really good, versatile channel. Also ads run on Bing as well. Obviously usage levels are far lower, but it's still worth considering, depending on what the campaign is and the audience. Web display is another important channel. So that'll be ads running on websites. So you've all seen ads, I'm sure, on kind of news websites with a banner ad at the top, etc., and ads running on mobile versions of websites. In-app advertising is a big one as well. So again, on the Sky News app. Video advertising is also really big. So that would be YouTube is probably the biggest of the lot, definitely the biggest of the lot. But also there are ways to include video assets on some of the other channels. So social media and also some web display as well. Then finally, there's audio. So Spotify, we run campaigns on, and also audio books, etc., and podcasts as well. And then finally, there's retargeting. So retargeting is when you visit a website and then you leave the website and you see ads pop up afterwards. So it's quite a big one for e-commerce. Also, it's a really good technique. So if there's a long decision-making process, so for example, fostering where a person wouldn't necessarily make an immediate decision, it's a really good way to nudge them through the process, kind of gently messaging them and showing ads to them over a longer time frame. So if I just go over to the next one. So in terms of devices, so smartphone is the really big one. So between 70 to 80% of impressions, so that's ad views through a campaign will be through smartphone. And I'm sure it's probably similar for your organizational websites as well. Then tablet and computer to a far less degree, and also smart TV is quite a big one, certainly where it comes to video advertising. So if we go to the benefits of programmatic now, so the big benefit is reach. So the reach potential is absolutely massive. As of last year, ONS data indicated that it was 92% of UK over 18s. I suspect that figure is probably much higher now. The next big benefit is targeting. So all of the platforms offer really good targeting. So geographic is a really big one. So that can be down to a pin drop and a 1 kilometer radius. You can scale up to country size, and also demographic, so age, gender. Then the apps have varying levels of interest related segments. So Meta has about 1,000. I think Google has 2,000. Snapchat has about 30. And one of the other web display platforms we use, Quantcast, has probably 10,000 plus. So it's absolutely massive. And In addition to that, there's targeting relating to behaviours. So this could be like, for example, online shoppers, people that are engaged in sustainable behaviour, etc. Also values targeting as well, and also there's language targeting. So that's on Meta and also Google. So the real benefit of the targeting is that it means wastage is really limited, because when a campaign is set up, we will put together a bespoke audience profile for it, which will mean that the ads will only be seen by people that meet the audience criteria. So you're getting the message to the right person at the right time. But also the other option is that it means you could run different messages simultaneously, targeting different groups as well, which is a really kind of smart way to run campaigns. The next bullet point is metrics. So programmatic is absolutely superb. So all of the platforms provide really good data in terms of how the campaign is performing, and can we produce dashboards? So we produce a dashboard for each client at the start of the campaign, which includes all of the key campaign metrics, and then that's updated weekly for the duration of the campaign. So basically clients can jump on at any time and get the latest numbers to find out how the campaign is performing. And also what we do is we add output data as well when it's available, so everything's neat and tidy on the same dashboard. In addition to the metrics, so because there's so much data that's coming through from the campaign, it means that we can optimize. So while the campaign is live, we'll review the campaign usually once a week, just to make sure that everything's performing well. And that will be using a mixture of campaign dashboard data from the actual ad platforms, and also feedback coming from the client, which will mean that we can move budget between different channels, etc., if needed, in order to further help achieve the campaign KPIs. So what I'm going to do now is go through really quickly some of the ads, just to show you what they look like. So this is Google search, so text-based advertising, really effective way to reach audiences. We use it on a lot of campaigns. No visuals, and go on to the next one. So web displays. So these are the ads running on websites. So we have a network of 9,000 different websites that we run ads on, and the ads will appear where the audience is. So for example, if we were running a campaign focusing on jobs, the ads wouldn't just appear on jobs websites, they'd appear on websites that the audience is actually on. And I'll go through that in a bit more detail in a second. So here's an example of a Google responsive ad. So these are quite interesting. With this kind of ad, all of the elements of the ad, so the images, the logos, the text, are just added to the ad platform, and then the platform then optimizes, so it mixes the different variants of images and also text, and to create the best performing version using a mixture of all of the different elements. The ads run on websites, but also run as statics on YouTube, but interestingly also run on Gmail as well. So it's a good way to get ads out on the Gmail network, and also a nice way to get statics out through YouTube as well. So next up is Snapchat. So Snapchat's quite an interesting one. It's got a huge audience among younger people, but also is a really good way to reach parents. So if I'm running a campaign, for kind of MMR, etc., where I want to target parents of young people, very young people, I would go onto Snapchat, and we get really good results from it. And then finally, Meta. So I'm sure a lot of you run ads on Meta already. So Facebook and Instagram, good versatile channels to use, good for getting the message out. But I think if it's a conversion focused campaign, I would definitely recommend a mix of channels, and certainly Google search and web display as well. So the difference between paid advertising and organic social. So with organic social, you will be posting on your channel. Post will then be seen by a proportion of people that follow the account, and then others, if other people if it's shared or liked, etc. With paid, the ads will be shown to people that meet a specific audience criteria within the geographic location. So in terms of reach, in terms of clicks, paid is absolutely huge in comparison. And I'm aware that recently, over the past few years, a lot of social media channels have started to focus more on posts from friends and family. So they're ranked far higher than posts from organisations. And so there's been a dip in impressions. So if you want to use social as a way to get the message out, advertising definitely a really good way to do it. So if we go on to the next one, so this is how programmatic works. I've tried to keep this as simple as possible. So when we visit websites, we go around the internet, etc. Data is collected. Then when we visit a website that has advertising on it, there's an auction that takes place. So you've basically got all of the advertisers bidding for that ad slot. Then the ad that has the most relevant criteria and the best price will be the ad that appears. So that can sometimes be the reason why there's a really slight delay in ad showing when you visit a website. Then if you click on the ad, that goes back into the system. I know there's a big debate about advertising on websites, but that's essentially how the internet is financed. So it's quite a big deal. So if we go on to the next one, which is what the jargon means. So I'm sure some of you will know quite a bit of this already, but I'll just give you a quick overview. So impressions is the number of times the ad is shown. CPM, so that's cost per 1,000 impressions. So that's quite a technical term. That's more focused on the campaign setup. Clicks will be visits to the landing page. Click-through rate is the number of impressions that lead to clicks. Cost per clicks is the cost per website visit, and then interactions. So interactions will kind of cover engagement quite broadly. So it would include clicks, but also video views, likes, shares, comments, etc. And then IR is interaction rate. So again, the percentage of impressions leading to interactions. So what I'm going to do now is move over to some campaign examples. So the first one is for a bulky waste campaign that I ran in Haringey last year. So to encourage people to book the bulky waste service to reduce fly tips locally. So the campaign involved a mixture of channels, so Google search, web display and Meta. So the Google search campaign received a click-through rate of 20%. That's incredibly high, really, really good, and a really low cost per click as well. Then in addition, we ran ads on Meta and web display as well. And I created a bespoke audience profile for it, so targeting people with an interest in DIY, home improvements, etc. So the people that are more likely to need to use the service. Also, ads ran in key geographic locations, so areas where there was a higher number of fly tips, etc. So the campaign performed really well. The cost per website visit was around 50p. And there was a huge spike in bulky waste bookings as a result. So yeah, the client was very happy on that one. So the next one is an event-focused campaign we ran for the London Borough of Bromley. So the aim of the campaign was to encourage people to attend Mayor of London-backed nighttime enterprise zone event. So the campaign used a wide range of channels, so web display, Snapchat, Facebook and Instagram, and the target audience focused on people living in Bromley and also people living in neighbouring boroughs as well, because the aim of the campaign was to encourage people to attend the event, but the aim of the project was to encourage people to make better use of local town centres and encourage visitors. So for this campaign, I put together an audience profile focusing on parents, people with an interest in live events, going out, arts and culture, etc. Campaign performed really well. Cost per website visit was 25 pence, which is incredibly good, and nearly 10,000 people attended the event. So the next one is a campaign for Barnet, London Borough of Barnet, called Money Worries. So basically a cost of living focused campaign where we were directing people potentially in need of financial support to a benefits calculator. So for this campaign, we used web display, Google search, and Meta, and we used multiple different data sources for this one. So there was financial velocity data that was provided by the council, but then in addition to that, we used platform data to reach those in low-income postcodes, but also people with an interest in benefits and also searching for terms relating to cost of living as well. So the campaign achieved nearly 15,000 website visits and led to over 10,000 people using the calculator. So again, another very happy client. And then an NHS related campaign. So this is a really interesting one. This was for NHS North East London. And the aim of the campaign was to encourage people to use online NHS services. So as you can see from the image below, beat the 8 a.m. rush. For this campaign, I developed a number of different audiences, but the ones that are most interesting, so I developed an audience for people that were interested in health and also technology, and also another one for older people, so people who are more likely to need NHS services, older people with a mix of an interest in technology and also health as well. And yeah, the campaign performed incredibly well, 25,000 website visits over 2 months. I think the cost per website visit was around 30 pence. So again, incredible results. And then finally, a campaign. So this was before my time at Cannes, but this was for City of London Police. And the aim of the campaign was to encourage a young, ethnically diverse audience to apply for induction sessions relating to recruitment. So the campaign ran ads on social media and also Google search and saw nearly 90,000 interactions, which is amazing, really good result. And 437 registrations, which is excellent, very, very good. So we'll just go over. So my final slide is some kind of campaign areas that you might be thinking about to give you kind of feel of the potential for programmatic advertising. So drink driving. So there is a way to target people who are car drivers, but with an interest in alcohol and drinking establishments. So that could be done using probably most platforms. There will be a way to achieve that. And there are lots of audience segments related to alcohol and going out, etc. Yes, that would be a good strategy and approach to take for a campaign focusing on drink driving or drug driving. Electrical safety. So for a campaign covering this theme, there will be a way to target people who are interested in second-hand shops, online marketplaces, gadgets and electrical goods, even to the degree that targeting people that are actually in the market to purchase the items as well. And Google search would be a good way to achieve that, because people will often go onto Google search looking for deals, etc. Now, bonfire night. So bonfire night, there are lots of ways to target parents, and that can be achieved through all of the main channels, but also Google search ads, so targeting people looking for terms related to bonfire night, purchasing fireworks, etc. as well. And also Snapchat. So Snapchat is the only channel where you can target 13 to 17-year-olds. All other channels are focused on over 18s only. And then finally, severe weather. So there are lots of ways that you can reach audiences kind of during peacetime to get them ready for severe weather conditions and seasonal issues with weather. Again, a lot of that would be geo-focused, but also you could put in terms you run ads on Google search as well. And lots of opportunity, lots of options for all of them. And after the clicks, this is my final slide. So this is focused on getting the traffic through to the web page. There are some really important considerations for what happens once people reach the page. So the key one is, and I'm sure you'll all be aware of this, is make sure landing pages are all smartphone optimized, just because the bulk of traffic will be through smartphone now. The second is UX and form design. So we recommend clients use designed forms and landing pages because we've tried and tested and used them with lots of clients and always get really good results. But it's about making sure that the user experience is neat and tidy, everything's simple, forms are easy to fill in, and also importantly, easy to fill in on smartphone as well. So that's a really important consideration. Third is focus on conversion optimization. So that's a heavy focus at Can, is focusing on the outcomes of the campaign and the actual impact on the ground. And then finally, just a reminder, Google Analytics data is just a sample of the data. So if you're running Facebook ads already and you're looking at Google Analytics and spotting there's a difference, that's because of privacy settings and also reflective of the percentage of people that click on accept cookies when they visit the website, and also using iOS as well, because there are default settings on a lot of Apple devices that would just mean that Google Analytics can't collect data. So if you're running your own campaigns and see it, don't worry, it's a privacy issue, setting issue, not a campaign issue. And that's it. Are there any questions?
Thanks so much, Alan. Please do, if you've got questions for Alan about that programmatic explainer, or any questions for Julie from earlier, please post them in the chat. All I can say, Alan, is I wish I'd had access to this explainer when I sort of first started out with digital advertising, because I think I'd have been far further along the path much quicker with some of that explanation.
You've caught up fast.
Thank you. Yeah. And actually, just to add to, you mentioned that City of London recruitment campaign there, that City of London police recruitment campaign. I was lucky enough to work on that one alongside Can, and of those 437, I think it was, registrations, we were specifically targeting, females and people from Black, Asian and ethnically diverse backgrounds in that campaign. And of those 437 registrations, I think it was well over 95% were from those target audiences. There was next to no kind of, applications or registrations from people outside of our target audience. So that is how focused and how targeted the advertising was, and was able to get to the right people in the right places, on the right websites, on the right channels. And I think that's what's so fascinating about what you've just described, Alan, is the targeting and the audience identification. Bringing in all those different profiles, all those different bits of data, and going beyond just targeting people by just by age or by geography. There's so many more different ways that we can go about doing it as well. Julie, I hope you're still there. We've got a question from Claire that says, is the shattered information free, and how soon could the training be delivered?
I'm still here, and
Hi,
yes,
Julie.
it is free. And how soon? If you were thinking before Opceptor, not before Opceptor, I don't think. But if you wanted to ping me some dates across, I can look in my calendar and see where we can fit an hour and a half in. And if you wanted anyone else from your teams to join at the same time, then we can get everyone onto one session and play the game virtually, and then I can email you the resources and the videos and that kind of thing after you've had the input, if that works for you. Opceptor, sorry, that is a policing campaign. So we run a knife crime campaign twice a year nationally. So if you hear someone say Opceptor, it is about a national knife crime campaign.
Brilliant. I hope that helps, Claire. And yeah, Julie's details were put in the chat, so hopefully you've got those.
Can I just ask where Claire's from? Is Claire in a police force or council or?
I will leave that with you, Claire, if you want to. Oh, there we go. From a local authority.
Lovely. Yeah, Claire, if you drop me a message, we can talk about it, because you have to have police support to deliver it, just because of the elements of the crime discussions. But Amber Valley already deliver it, so we'll have a chat.
Thank you, Julie, and thanks, Claire, for the question. And then I think Claire also had a follow-up question for Allan and Rachel. I can see that you've asked the same question around costs of effective programmatic campaigns. Allan, do you want to come in on that and talk about, you know, the different levels that there are for campaigns?
Yeah, thank you, James. So the minimum spend level is £2,000 per month. That will be for a mixed channel campaign. In addition to that, there are possibilities for a lower monthly spend running Google search only campaigns. But what it might be worth doing is, if you've got any, if there are any campaigns coming up that you be interested in discussing with us, to drop me an email, and what I could do is put together a kind of top level plan about the approach we could take and give you some understanding of forecasts, etc., and also kind of understanding of what audiences could be targeted. So if you drop me an email, I can come back to you, we can have a conversation. But yeah, the minimum is £2,000 a month.
Thanks, Allan. And yes, well, you know, there's an investment, of course, to be able to run a campaign like this. Some of those you know, figures that Allan mentioned in his case studies that he gave around, you know, the cost per outcome, you know, cost per click, things like that, you know, that you could be able to take back to your organizations, hopefully not only just to show outcomes for the campaign in terms of, you know, whether that's recruitment, whether that's reducing things by a certain amount, but also, you know, that return on investment as well, that cost per outcome. Although, you know, you might feel that, you know, a certain upfront cost, you know, might sound high, but actually when you compare that to the type of results that you might achieve and then the cost per outcome, it can be incredibly cost effective as well. And you know, and Allan shared some of those examples there. So I'll just double check if we've got any other questions. Is there anything else that anybody would like to ask at this point? This will be able to be shared back, this webinar as well. So we'll be able to, you'll be able to watch it back. And Rachel, sorry, it's just come in with one more question. Could more than one organisation come together to deliver a joint campaign over different geographies? I think, Allan, that's definitely things that have been done before, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really good suggestion. We actively encourage organisations to work in partnership. So yeah, that's a very, very good approach.
And in fact, so when it comes to fostering, can also, one of the other hubs that can run is a fostering hub, and I think it was more than 50 councils came together last year to put money in. I think only £1,000 each to create a campaign and a video that could be then used across the country to raise awareness of fostering and encourage people to become foster parents. So, you know, that is a sort of on a bigger scale, on a quite a large scale, an example of, you know, a lot of people investing a relatively small amount of money to produce a campaign, a really effective and powerful campaign to encourage foster parents as well. So yeah, absolutely, Rachel, that's a great suggestion and something that's definitely done in different ways as well. What I'll do is I will just make sure that you've got the web page back up on the screen as well before we disappear, just so that if you haven't, as I say, if you haven't signed up for the hub yet, get yourself on the mailing list, make sure you sort of hear about future events. As I say, we have been recording this webinar, so we will also share this with you so you can share on to colleagues or partners or anyone else you work with as well who might find this interesting. And if we've if we've got no other questions, let me just double check. Then, yeah, by all means, follow up with us. You know, my details, you can get in touch with us through the hub, with Allan as well, and any other suggestions of topics you would like us to cover, things that you might find interesting to, whether it's hearing about campaigns, case studies, anything else you'd like to hear from the Blue Light Comms Hub, please do let us know as well. This community is definitely, you know, it's absolutely for you and for us to be able to hopefully share good learning and good knowledge with you as well. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Julie, and thanks, Allan, for your time as well as speakers. Really appreciate you all spending your lunch time with us. Yeah, and I hope you all have a good weekend. Thanks very much.